We've seen bits of Modern Warfare 2's campaign, we've seen the beta build of Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, we've even seen Warzone 2 gameplay, but perhaps the one part of the Modern Warfare 2 and next era of Warzone experience that's still the most shrouded in mystery is DMZ, which to date we've seen absolutely nothing official on beyond just the brief mention confirming its existence at Call of Duty Next a few weeks back. Today we're going to be diving into some new leaks that came out of the beta build for Modern Warfare 2 for this new mode that looks to be coming alongside Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone a little after that mainline launch, including things like league challenges, factions, and even a nuke in DMZ. All of these things we'll be breaking down here today, so as we go along, drop your thoughts below. Are you looking forward to anything in particular with either Modern Warfare 2 or Warzone 2 in the DMZ experience? Anything you'd like to learn further about DMZ? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2 as we gear up for a busy upcoming few weeks ahead of launch and beyond for Modern Warfare 2. We'll keep you up to date with absolutely any and everything you need to know, as well as bringing you guys the best possible information, guides, and tips after launch as well. So if you'd like to join us on the road to 500,000 subscribers, I'd love to have you in the community. For now, though, let's take a look at these new DMZ leaks. So DMZ, officially speaking, has had very little said about it. It's been rumored for ages, all the way back to November or December of last year even, so much so to the point that even Stephanie Snowden of Infinity Ward joked about it during the COD Next reveal of the mode, saying, "I've read about some new modes on the internet recently." Described as an all-new sandbox experience for Warzone 2, it's Call of Duty's extraction mode and will arrive at Warzone 2's launch. They said that they created a sandbox where you can define your own win conditions. You can infiltrate Al Mazrah, accomplish your goals, and extract when the time is right. It's played across the whole map, and the AI is occupying large sections of the map, and they are lethal opponents. They patrol areas, occupy strongholds, and they'll reinforce based on players' actions. You can choose which missions you want to accomplish, or you can chase down a variety of activities in the world. You can play it differently depending on your playstyle. You can go in loud, you can go in quiet, or you can hunt other players or avoid them entirely. You could also just decide, hey, I'm going to explore the secrets of Al Mazrah. Now, the only other details that we got about this came in regards to the launch of DMZ. That coming along with Warzone's second generation launching on November 16th, just over 2 weeks after the launch of Modern Warfare 2. So lots of grinding to do for those interested in getting everything leveled up and ready to go for the first integration. Also, bear in mind, this will seemingly be an entirely optional of a download, unlike Warzone 1 and Modern Warfare 2019. Those were tethered together. You had to have both of them. While they haven't explicitly stated it just yet, to my knowledge, during the COD Next event, we did have to forcefully close Modern Warfare 2's application and boot up an entirely different exe file, built specifically for Warzone 2. So just bear that in mind. That should be something that's nice. You don't have to take part in this if you don't want to. So what more beyond that do we know? The following information comes from Twitter user CodSploits, linked in the description below, but within the last 2 days, he's put out 2 large dumps of information from the game files in regards to Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ in particular. Now, some of the things seem to be shared across Warzone 2 and DMZ, which makes sense. DMZ is built in Warzone and is a sister mode for the world of Al Mazrah, so naturally that checks out. But at a top level though, let's firstly talk about factions. Factions appear to be a high-level designation of player that seemingly kind of dictates your play style. Right now, it looks like there's 2, the Black Mao and the White Lotus. Denoted by the intel provided, they claim their missions for the faction that's focused on exploration and travel through the DMZ, that being the Black Mao, and the faction that is focused on completing activities and eliminating enemy AIs, which is the White Lotus. Now, there's also reference to a crown, which seems to be a designation for inactive members of the White Lotus faction, though there isn't a designation for inactive members of the others. So, interesting to see how that will play out, but without any more details, I'd be really curious to see the intricacies behind this faction system, if there are any. If it acts similar, identical, or potentially not even at all to Tarkov's class system, where maybe you lose karma or something like that while trying to complete a task or mission as a part of the White Lotus faction, but you kill another White Lotus faction member, stuff like that. And I'm wondering if there's any more factions, perhaps for something a bit more of an aggressive player, beyond those 2 just listed. Somewhat of a hunter playstyle, like actually trying to hunt down other players, rather than just AI or completing missions and contracts and things like that. But at a baseline, it does kind of seem like just the standard and basic scav versus PMC class and faction within Tarkov, and I'm wondering if it's going to be handled the same or slightly differently or not at all alike. We'll have to wait and see, but those were the 2 that were laid out here in the build that data miners had access to at the moment. Now, beyond that, there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. We also learned about some locked locations and keys required to get into locations, kind of denoting a little bit more in depth of a sort of explore exploratory nature to the world, whereas Warzone, you'll just kind of have access to some of this stuff, it seems like, going around, or maybe there's actually parts of buildings that are completely sectioned off in Warzone and are only for DMZ, requiring keys and such. But we also learn about some other items you can seemingly find, which may indicate a marketplace of some kind, but we'll get to that in a second. For these locational areas, there's designations for key required for all of these by them saying they're locked. Strongholds are going to need some keys. There's keys required for airport maintenance, antiquities offices, apartment closets, auto shops, cell phone shops, cliff rooms, airport conference rooms, control rooms, crane buildings, dressing rooms, fisherman shacks, forts, gaming rooms, graveyard houses, grocery stores, hotel rooms, apartments, produce markets, safe rooms, mobile offices, mountain rooms, munition storages, neighborhood storage, guard shacks, office quarters, police academy, barracks and lockers, various houses, post offices, power control substations, quarry control, foreman offices, quarry storages, quiet bedrooms, resort entrances, security camera rooms, server rooms, shopping rooms, smugglers' warehouses, guard shacks, spotter view locations, sunken offices, probably to do with that one location on the map that is like over flooded by everything, resort offices, TV stations, underground shacks, and western storages. Now beyond that, again, we talked about some marketplace indicated items. All of these listed basically say they have no value, but that in a contrasting manner indicates there will be things that do have value. There's listed references of aspirin, broken glass, heart lockets, old watches, origami horses, pictures of cats, pictures of a child, pictures of a dog, pictures of a man, pictures of a woman, small dolls, small shoes, a toy knife, a vial of insulin, and a worn necklace. So all sort of very minute and mundane things here, but with that level of inventory items, I'm really curious to see how in-depth everything goes beyond that, because if we have the ability to pick up pictures of cats, origami horses, that seems like almost everything would be lootable in Al Mazrah, right? So excited to see where that leads and if that ends up actually showcasing something for what could be a list of valued items that could be sold in-game. Now, next, one thing that I want to talk about before we jump on over to a couple of things is an interesting brief mention here, and there's really not a whole ton to it. There are 3 specific mentions of a nuke. Audio lines of someone armed a nuke, get to a helo to get the hell out of here before it blows, a 10-minute warning with a nuclear signature detected, and a 5-minute warning with a nuclear warhead inbound. So I'm really curious to see what becomes of that, because we have seen also mentions of sort of radiation blockers. So I wonder if that's something that is actually callable in game, where it sections off a large portion of the map before a sort of server reset or something like that. But very interesting to hear that we'll have a nuke somewhat playable or interactable within DMZ, potentially come launch of DMZ. Now, a little further, we learned about some of the operators we'll see. This might actually be the full list of all of the operators we see in regards to the launch version of Modern Warfare 2, as well as then Warzone 2 and DMZ, since they're all shared. But we end up having the operators of SAS Bravo 1 through 4, probably some Milsim operators. We have Callisto, Chili, Farah, Fender, Ghost, Gus, Harangi, Hutch, Kilgore, Cleo, Kortak 1 through 4, Spec Gru 1 through 4. Again, probably some Milsim operators. Nova, Oni, that PlayStation exclusive one. Price, Koenig, Ronin, Shadow Company 1 through 5. Again, Milsim likely. Soap, Stiletto, and Zemo. Now, some of those are actually seemingly left over from Modern Warfare 2019, operators that never made it into the game there. So I'm curious if that's legacy code or if that's going to be something that actually we finally see those characters introduced into the playable experience. But beyond that, we have to jump to another information dump, in which this one came yesterday, where it's talking about the missions and challenges in regards to DMZ. Now, these might sound a bit monotonous. We'll rattle these off and talk about them where possible, but you have missions to extract with enemy grunt weapons. You have missions to capture SAM sites. You have a mission called One Big Score, where you have to extract a certain amount of cash in a single game. You have to extract a hailstorm, which seems to be a blueprint of some kind or some sort of experimental weapon that looks to be a shotgun that can be bought at certain buy stations or likely looted from some locations like a stronghold. There's a radioactive reward mission, which seems to be sort of intel side, not necessarily maybe dealing with that nuke we just mentioned. There's a mission to extract with a full backpack. There's a mission to sabotage vehicles for Al-Qatala, driving their vehicles and basically just running them out of fuel. There's a mission to extract with certain amount of lethals and tacticals. There's a mission to get a certain amount of kills with shotguns in close quarters at the Hydro location. There's a mission to kill Riot Shield grunts. grunts. There's a mission to kill heavily armed grunts. There's a mission to extract a sort of rare collection of liquor bottles from a collector who had previously lived in the area before it was evacuated, which is kind of interesting. There's a long-range kill, a designated marksman challenge here at that, another one for sharpshooters. There's one where you have to kill operators with an assault rifle. There's one where you have to get kills in certain points of interest, like quarry. There's a mission for killing operators with an SMG, operators seemingly being the other players, whereas otherwise they'd be described as grunts, which is actually the next challenge listed as Headhunter, killing grunts with headshots. There's a mission called World Traveler where you have to travel to a certain number of different points of interest in one singular match. There's a mission called The Cleaner where you have to end up wiping squads. There's Kill and Confirm as well as extraction missions. There's missions to take out high-value targets. There's a mission to intercept enemy communications from hostile faction operators, and this again tasking you with taking out squads. So again, that seems to be more player on player. There's a mission where you have to hack Al-Qatala UAV towers, and then there's a mission where you have to destroy a certain amount of vehicles in a single match. So a lot of stuff seemingly to do here, and it seems like these will just be maybe regular rotations of challenges. I can't imagine that these are like the only things you can do in game, and once you're done with them. There's a lot more beneath the surface, I believe, or at least that's the way that I see it. But right now, kind of shaping up, DMZ as a whole looks to offer a lot to do that you might not necessarily be used to as a run and gun COD player. You might think of Call of Duty as just 6v6, 10v10, ground war, 24v24, 32v32 combat, and then Warzone and Plunder. This seemingly is an entirely different thing. Plunder is, of course, going to be in Warzone 2, but this is kind of a different level beyond that, where there's a lot more stakes for dropping in, looting up, and killing enemies, but it seems like there's a lot more reward to it as well, or at least there's trying to be that reward for it. So I'm very curious to see what more we have on offer. It seemed like from the COD Next event that they were going to reveal this a little closer to maybe the launch of Modern Warfare 2, maybe shortly after the launch of Modern Warfare 2 in that little window where players are grinding out MW2MP before Warzone 2 and DMZ launches, but there's definitely still more on the table. But for right now, this gives us a glimpse in at what we can see here for the potential launch of both of these. So for right now, while it's not the full picture, we're kind of pressed in on a couple singular locations of the overall experience. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I think this is going to be a nice deviation from the traditional COD formula and may offer something that might not be for everybody, but also may bring over a lot of people that may be interested in this, whereas they aren't necessarily interested in a battle royale. They're not necessarily interested in a 6v6 game. So I'm curious to see what comes of this and how in-depth this actually is, but definitely looking forward to seeing more. So for that, that's what we're going to call it. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What are you guys looking forward to within DMZ? Is there anything in particular that we talked about here that might interest you a little more than anything else? Anything that you're really just hoping to see that we haven't talked about? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ as more information becomes readily available. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. So thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.